So let's talk about this. Let's bring into this conversation technology columnist for the New York Times, Kevin Roose, and Wall Street Journal reporter Berber Jin, who writes about startups and venture capital. And Berber, I'll start with you because Microsoft betting big here. What is the risk? What is the gain? Looks like a lot of gain.
Yeah, I think Microsoft is reportedly in talks to invest, or they decided to invest up to $10 billion into ChatGPT. And it's essentially a bet that artificial intelligence will reshape almost every line of their business. If you take Microsoft Bing as an example, they've said they're going to integrate ChatGPT technology into Bing. Not many users use Bing compared to Google search, but there is a world in which, they integrate the technology into Bing and people are able to ask a question on Bing and they can get a sort of curated response instead of a list of queries, which is what we're used to today. So they're investing a lot of money, but I think they see a really big payoff to sort of having a proprietary hold on the technology that OpenAI has developed.
So, Kevin, in your piece, you talk about the brilliance and weirdness of ChatGPT. That it feels different, smarter, weirder, more flexible. It can write jokes, some of which are actually funny. I mean, when you look at this concept and all the different ways it could go, and I want to talk to Eddie about education, but Kevin, I mean, are we looking at a future potentially where one does not need to write or think?
Well, write, maybe. Think less so. I mean, these bots, they're not perfect. They still require some expertise to use well. A lot of what they're putting out is generic or banal. Some of what they're putting out is just factually incorrect. And so I think for now, these chatbots are best used as the middle step in a creative process where you have a human being who's coming up with an idea, asking the bot to do some of the first draft of that idea, and then having the human come back and check it at the end to make sure it's correct and sensical and usable. I'm saying for now because these bots are getting better all of the time. And so we even have, OpenAI is slated to come out with an even newer model sometime this year called GPT-4. And so we may not know how to use these things in the future. But right now, I would say the human thought part is still very critical.
Eddie Glaude, I mean, I'm just horrified for the thought of educators who are dealing with so much right now when it comes to making sure that when students hand in a paper, it's a paper written by that student. How worried are you that this is already writing papers for students at colleges across the country? I
wasn't worried too much until I started this thing here, listening to this. So yeah, I think about my son. When I look at my son's signature, Mika, it looks like the signature he used when he was in the 4th grade, because now he's just using the computer, right? So there's a sense in which technology has almost disappeared a certain kind of attention to penmanship, right? So what does it mean for creativity? What does it mean for a kind of, not necessarily originality, but inspiration that one finds on the page when it's being outsourced in this way? That's the first kind of worry. And, at the heart of education isn't so much about grading papers. It's about, in some ways, kind of developing a certain kind of character, a certain kind of openness and inquisitiveness to the world. And what happens when that's being outsourced to technology? That's the first kind of concern. The second concern is that technology exists in a world that's shaped by bias, that's shaped by the ugliness of this world. ChatGPT is not going to get rid of that bias. So what happens when it's outsourced into this kind of technological medium, right? It doesn't resolve the ugliness of misogyny. It doesn't resolve the ugliness of racism and anti-Semitism. How does that find its way into the code? And human beings are doing that, it seems to me. So some questions have to be asked. But other than that, as an educator, what happens to inspiration and creativity when a damn computer is doing all of this work?
But also, like part of really learning, at least for me, was the actual process of writing with a pen, and now I guess a computer keyboard. I know, but I'm just saying the process of writing a paper for a student is that's how you're learning. You're developing on it, and you're erasing and going, and you're part of that process, which helps you learn. This is all being done for them. It's frightening. I want to just close out with a question for Kevin and for Berber Jen. It's the same question but different. Kevin, where is this going next technologically? And then Berber, you can follow up with on the business side. You know, how much do you think this is going to, what Microsoft is doing is going to repeat itself? Kevin first.
Yeah, technologically, the line is moving in one direction. It's all going up. So there's going to be more processing power, better models, more sophisticated outputs, more kinds of outputs. These tools are going to get better and better. And I think that's going to happen much more quickly than people anticipate.
Berber, is Microsoft on the cutting edge?
I think time will tell. For now, they're definitely getting a lot of credit for making this investment. I think Google, if you take it, it's a competitor to Microsoft, and they've actually had technology similar to ChatGPT, but they just haven't released it to the public. They've been nervous about the sort of ethical implications of releasing something this powerful, the potential concerns around bias. So Microsoft is definitely taking a step out there by sort of publicizing this relationship and saying very clearly they want to integrate it into a whole host of business lines. So, a lot of investors think OpenAI could be the next trillion-dollar company. It could also potentially, end up having very dangerous ramifications if we can't control it properly. So I think it remains to be seen whether this is going to be seen as a sort of really smart, forward-looking bet by Microsoft or something that they acted on too quickly.
Yeah, I think this is the beginning of many conversations. Kevin Roose of the New York Times and Wall Street Journal's Berber Jen, thank you both. Daniela, great piece. Thank you as well.